My yarn tangled with my microwave. My microphone cord. Good gravy Marie, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm in flare this morning. If you couldn't tell, I have very low energy and I am in pain. So I was debating on whether or not to even turn the camera on. Okay. Um, my name is Debbie. If you're new to my channel, I have fibromyalgia and I am in flare today because, as I like to put it, Mother Nature is off her meds because it's hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold, and then that flares up my fibromyalgia, and I do stupid things like call my microphone a microwave. Um, so I found out what happened yesterday because Gigi from Pretty Lies and Alibis um, was actually in the courtroom and she found out what happened. So, for those that are new to the case, this is an unaliving. However, the defendant is saying that he did it in defense of somebody else. Yeah, yesterday was a whole wash. It was crazy. The reason why it started late was because the defense attorney deferred his opening till after the state rested. He did not cross hardly any of the witnesses. And when he did, it was very brief. And now he got up yesterday and gave his opening, which was 9 minutes long. And he said that yes, Mr. Hughes did this. He did not do it out of malice or hatred. It's because of the cheese pizza. Yes. Why? I have things in the way of my chat that won't move. Oh, there we go. Yes, it's because of the cheese pizza. Um, so he's saying it was a justified act. It was in defense of the little girl and the cheese pizza. So the whole morning was a proffer, basically, for his opening statement. And the judge said that he was not allowed to use that defense. So I don't know why he even went forward with that opening. Um, and then he recalled the detective, and that was the only thing we saw yesterday was the opening and the recall of the detective. And he started to ask him, were you the lead detective on another case involving the same people? And there was an objection. Aw, thank you, Carla. There's an objection, and again, they went to the bench and we got to look at the seal. And then the the, the witness left, and then the feed cut out. They wanted to recall the same witness to ask him questions. And I don't know if they actually did recall him and proffer him, but he wanted to ask him. Well, they said that the recall of Investigator Bevel was improper impeachment. They should have asked about, remember the misunderstanding about the wording in his report about the pictures? The defense thought that he had seen other pictures of her on the other website because in the envelopes with the pictures that were sent out to people, the naughty pictures of her, that the defense misunderstood and thought the URL for the escargot service that redirect the URL on those pictures redirected him to a different site. And the defense attorney misunderstood and thought that he actually saw pictures of Christina on that different site. But he worded his report incorrectly, I guess is the only way to put it. It wasn't clear. So it sounded like he had seen other pictures of Christina on another website, but what he meant, it was other pictures in other envelopes. So that was improper impeachment. So that didn't work. So then he wanted to recall him again to ask him about um, if he knew about the cheese pizza case and that he was made aware of that on October 19th. Um, no, wait. What day was she? What day did this happen? It was October 13th, 2021, right? So this would have been. Why do I have October 19th, 2021? I obviously have the date wrong. Oh no, my bad. That is the right date. This is when they arrested Bradley Post. It was October 19th. They found this after because they found the pictures after when they were investigating the murder. So he was made aware of the pictures on the devices. He verified them and got a warrant, put Aida in emergency protective care, um, and he was going to ask him about the warrant. And Bradley Post had a room in his house. Now, this man has no kids. He had a playroom in his house. So he had this pink, like, little kid's dream room in his house. Which, I mean, I guess he could explain that away as my fiance had a little daughter, but still, that's creepy. Um, on October 20th, he notified the other child's parents, because remember, there was another child involved. The little girl had a friend that was involved, and got five more warrants for five more devices. And the images were deemed violent crimes. Is that all cheese pizza are deemed violent? I hope so. I hope they weren't actual violence. Violence, you know what I mean? That makes it worse. Um, and they went into detail. Um, and Gigi said she was not going to repeat that because you didn't want that in your head. So yeah, that's what I was thinking too, Fawn. That's what I was thinking too. Um, so he was with criminal sexual conduct in the 3rd degree. I heard noise. Oh, they're gonna start on time today? Unbelievable. Okay, I'm gonna try to talk fast, y'all. I'm in slow mode this morning. And then on January 10th, um, they added the charge of buggery, which um, Google that if you don't know what it is, because I'm not gonna repeat it. And in South Carolina, that means animals. That's all I'm gonna say. It had been already investigated in 2018 on John Mello's word, and they didn't find anything. So I guess they were covering their tracks pretty good back then, but after all this fell apart, um, and they closed the case in March of 2018 because there was no probable cause, and they wanted to call her daughter, but the judge would not allow that. And then they proffered. These are all the witnesses they brought. This is what they wouldn't let us see yesterday. Um, the owner of a cigar bar that John Mello hung out in, they found hard drives, thumb drives in a locker there, which the owner of the cigar bar turned over to them. And they wanted to recall the guardian ad litem, who knows about all this stuff now. She didn't at the time, and she said if she'd known that, she would have taken the daughter out of her custody right away. Um, and she said that Brad Post always gave her the creeps and that he was bankrolling some of the legal fees. And that she found out that Christina had been a prostitute and a drug dealer and had been in a porno film in the past. And somehow, Gigi didn't say how, but she had talked to a man named Alex Fields, who is now deceased, but he had been a firefighter, and he had met her, and I guess they were like casual acquaintance or something, and they had seen each other at a restaurant one time, and he had propositioned her. I mean, she had propositioned him for sex and for drugs. So this woman was messed up. Um, and they talked to one of the investigators on the CP case, cheese pizza, whatever. Um, there were, like I said yesterday, 9 different devices. There was 2,267 pics on one device. The pictures were with, some of them were with her mom too. How do you do that to your kid? That is just so disgusting. One had 4,000 pictures and 48 videos. One had over 2,000 pictures and 137 videos. One had 1,500 pictures and 81 videos. Another one had 3,700 pictures and 47 videos. One had 1,826 pictures. Another one had 2,400 pictures and 100 videos. One had 184 pictures. One had 36 pictures and 4 videos. And the defense lawyer wanted to show a picture, like a cleaned up picture to the jury of one of the kid with one of the pictures that Christina was in with her. And they were also going to call a child psychologist to talk about the trauma it has done to the child. And I understand why he did it, if that's why, but that just still doesn't excuse it. Um, but he is supposed to testify. I don't see how he's gonna make this his defense. I don't, because the judge isn't allowing any of it. What is he gonna say when he gets on the stand? the stand already. Jeez. I guess this is just going to be their case, just him.
To Southwest Virginia.
Your brothers and sisters.
I have 5 brothers and sisters. One is my I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Zachary Hughes.
Zach, how old are you?
I'm 32 years old.
Are you married?
No.
Do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yes, I do.
Tell this jury about your brothers and sisters.
One is my biological brother, Eli, and the rest are my adopted siblings.
All right, StreamYard, why did you crash? Carla, wrong case. This one's a South Carolina one. The other one is the corrupt case. This one's not corrupt. It's just the judge doesn't want to put the cheese pizza stuff out there. The CSAM is another thing to call it. I don't know what to call it. Cheese pizza sounds so stupid. I don't know why. I guess I'm going to have to go to the higher internet speed. Speaking of the Commonwealth, the judge came back, but then she just cut it short. Like she didn't do anything. She just came back to say we're done. Oh, I get it. Believe me, I get it.
Please be seated. Please state your name for the record.
Zachary Hughes.
Zach, how old are you?
I'm 32 years old.
Are you married? Brothers or sisters?
Yes, I do.
Tell this jury about your brothers and sisters.
I have 5 brothers and sisters. One is my biological brother, Eli, and the rest are my adopted siblings.
At one point, did you have 6 siblings?
Yes, I did.
Talk about that in a minute. Where were you born?
I was born in San Luis Obispo, California.
Did you grow up in the entirety of your childhood in California?
No, I did not.
From California, where did
To Southwest Virginia when I was 11.
while you were still living in California, did you discover that you had an aptitude for music?
Yes, I did.
What, if anything, did your mom or dad do by way of an instrument to help you learn how to play music?
When I was maybe 4 or 5, my dad found an old Gilbranson upright piano at a yard sale, and he bought it for, I think, $300 and rolled it down the street to our house. So I had an instrument to tinker on when I was young, even before I started piano lessons.
Describe, just in general to this jury, what was your, while you were in California and early on in Virginia, what was your home life like? What was it like to grow up in your house?
I had a great childhood. I have great parents. They raised my biological brother and I before we adopted in a Christian household. They taught us good values, the importance of good morals
Baby corn is better than cheese pizza. I like baby corn better.
and service to others. And they supported me in every way imaginable, and I'm very grateful for them.
Zach, you may want to back up just a little bit from the microphone. I think you get just a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a bit better. Thanks. Describe for the jury Christian values in the household. Describe for the jury sort of the, early on at least, the connection between your parents supporting you playing music and the Christian dynamic in your family.
Yeah, originally when I was 9, my parents started me on piano lessons. Our pastor's daughter taught piano lessons, and my dad wanted me to play hymns and family devotions.
You testified earlier that you and your family moved to Virginia. Tell this jury where you and your family moved in Virginia.
It was a town called Abingdon. It's right next to Bristol, Virginia, which is known for the NASCAR Speedway.
Describe to the jury what your family's residence was like. Where did you live, and sort of describe that dynamic.
We moved to a small 3.5-acre farm. My parents liked the idea of raising some farm animals and giving my brother and I the opportunity to do physical work on a farm, and just the opportunity to be close to nature and grow up understanding the value of hard work.
In 2005, did your family,
Yes.
describe for the jury how your family grew in 2005?
The church we were a part of at a time really encouraged adoption, especially for families or couples who weren't able to have kids at that point in their life or at all. And as a result of this belief in the church that it was good to adopt, there were emails that would be passed around occasionally. And there was an email that was passed around with a photo of 5 Russian siblings who were up for adoption in Russia.
I thought he said females that would be passed around. I was like, what now?
And my family saw these photos, and our heart really went out to these kids. At first, we thought they were all boys because their heads were all shaven for lice, and they were all wearing sort of the same kind of clothes, hand-me-downs. But there were 3 girls and 2 boys. And after a lot of prayer and thought and discussion about it, we decided we wanted to adopt these kids because essentially if we didn't, who would?
So, just briefly, let's talk about these kids. How old was the oldest child at the time your parents adopted them?
She was 10.
What was her name?
Her Russian name was Yelena, but we gave all the kids American names. So her name was Grace when we adopted her.
So Grace was 10. How old was the youngest?
18 months.
We're going to come back to them in just a little bit. At some point, did you and your family move to South Carolina from Virginia?
Yes.
How old were you when your family moved to South Carolina from Virginia?
I believe I was either 15 or 16.
Where did you and your family move in South Carolina?
We moved to Travelers Rest in Greenville County.
During this time, describe to the jury what is going on in your music progression, your life as a musician, and how you're progressing.
Like I said, I started piano at 9, and when we moved to Virginia, I became increasingly more interested and motivated in it. So by the time I was, say, 14, 15, I was practicing on average 6 to 8 hours a day. We were homeschooled, so this allowed me to do this. And by the time we had moved to Travelers Rest, I was very convinced that I wanted to pursue music as a career.
You testified you were practicing a lot. Did your during this time, did your father do anything to provide the rest of the family some peace while you were practicing so much?
Yes, I like to practice late into the night and into the early morning hours. So my dad actually built me a soundproofed room out in the garage so I could do this without waking the neighbors.
So as your musical capabilities improved and increased, while you're in high school, did you participate in any music festivals, specifically regional music festivals?
Yes, many.
Did you ever win a prestigious regional music festival?
Yes, several.
Describe to the jury what opportunity you were given in connection with the South Carolina Philharmonic Orchestra.
In 2011, I participated in a high school piano festival in Columbia, South Carolina at the University of South Carolina called the Southeastern Piano Festival. And part of this festival, there was an international concerto competition. A concerto is a piece for a solo instrument and orchestra. So in this case, solo piano with orchestra. And that was the Arthur Fraser International Piano Competition. And I was awarded first prize. And part of the first prize was the opportunity at a later date to perform a full concerto with the South Carolina Philharmonic. And maybe a year later, we did Beethoven's Emperor Concerto.
You testified about high school and your progression as a musician in high school. I want to talk about college. When it came to go for you to go to college, where did you apply to go to college?
I applied to 5 different conservatories in the country.
Were you accepted to any of those conservatories?
I was accepted to 3.
Where did you decide to go to college?
I went to the Juilliard School in Manhattan.
The year you applied, what percentage of applicants were granted admission to Juilliard?
I believe it was 7.2%.
And you were one of those musicians.
Yes.
When you were accepted, what, if any, inducements or incentives did Juilliard give you to attend their institution?
They offered me a generous financial aid package and a merit-based scholarship.
When did you begin your education?
Okay, quick recap. Christina Parcel was murdered by Zachary Hughes. She had a child with John Mello, who was Zachary Hughes's friend. They broke up and they were in a custody battle. She was engaged to an older gentleman. He was like 20 years older than her. 30 years older? 20 something, between 20 and 30 years older than her. And John Mello was older than her too. I'm not sure if it was that much older. Um, John Mello found out that Brad Post and Christina Parcel were making baby corn with Aida. And Christina Parcel was a vet tech who fostered animals from the vet clinic. So they were actually doing that. Christina was in the pictures with her daughter, and so were some of the animals. So John Mello, I don't know how he found out about it, but he found out about it, and they were sending nudie pictures of Christina to people, and they were putting Bradley Post's return address on the envelopes. So they were trying to implicate both of them. They had already told the police. This happened in 2021. They'd already told the police in 2018 that this was going on, and they had investigated and they hadn't found anything, so they closed the case. Um, John Mello had primary custody, but Christina had visitation. John Mello took Aida out of the country to Italy, and that was when Christina started fighting him to get sole custody of the kid. So he got his friend Zachary Hughes to start distributing these pictures. And Zachary Hughes killed her, and his defense is that he killed her in defense of the daughter because of the baby corn. So the jury is not allowed to know about the baby corn, and that is his defense. And every witness that the defense has wanted to put on has not been allowed. So now he is on the stand, and I don't know how they're going to pull off this defense because he's not going to be allowed to say why he did it. So I don't. Obviously, he's going to be the only witness today. So I imagine they're going to have closing arguments after this, and it's going to go to the jury. But I don't really see this going well for him.
At the Juilliard School?
I matriculated in the fall of 2011.
I want to talk about what you did while you were there. While you were at Juilliard, did you have an opportunity to participate in an international music festival?
Yes, I did.
Please tell the jury about that.
There is an international music students festival in Kyoto, Japan, which is called the Rome Music Foundation sets it up. And they try to get music students from all over the world, from different countries. So they get a sampling of different countries, and they have a relationship with Juilliard. So an email was sent out to the student body asking if anyone wanted to participate, and I was selected to represent the states in Kyoto for this festival.
And so how many students from around the world participated in this festival?
Maybe 15 to 20.
And how many from America were selected to participate?
One.
And that was just you.
Yes.
Did you graduate from the Juilliard School?
Yes, I did.
When did you graduate?
In May of 2015.
And what was the degree you obtained upon graduation?
A bachelor's of music and piano performance.
Just briefly describe to the jury after you graduated, what did you do in the music field for employment immediately upon graduation?
I did what a lot of conservatory graduates do who decide not to immediately pursue a higher degree. I did a lot of freelancing. I did some solo gigs playing concerts. I did some accompanying. I taught some students. And I even took on some work in restaurants to supplement my income.
At some point were you given the opportunity to be on staff with the Knoxville Symphony?
Yes, I was.
When did you receive, or when was that opportunity given to you?
I heard about the audition, that I heard that a spot had opened up for principal keyboardist in the Knoxville Symphony, and I heard about it 3 days beforehand. So last minute, I learned a bunch of excerpts and auditioned, and I was fortunate enough to get the job in 2017.
You talked about the principal pianist. Tell the jury what the principal pianist, what that title means and what your function was.
It is a principal keyboardist, so it's basically any instrument part in the orchestra that has a keyboard I would be playing. So it could be piano, harpsichord, synthesizer, celesta.
When did you begin your employment as the principal pianist for the Knoxville Symphony?
In 2017.
When did your employment end with the Knoxville Symphony?
In 2018.
Yeah, that came up in the Sarah Boone case because she kept saying that it was an accident. And then she flipped it to battered spouse syndrome. And then they weren't going to let her use that. And then which attorney argued? Was it Owens that argued that she has to have a defense? So that's our defense and you can't block it? Was it him or was it one of the others? She had so many attorneys, I can't remember. But yeah, they discussed that in her case. You can't take away her defense. That's her defense. So I agree. It might give him the ability to have another trial. I'm not defending him by any means. I'm just saying it might actually get him another trial.
What did you decide to do in 2018 that required you to leave the orchestra or the symphony band?
I decided to enlist with the Marine Corps.
So you're a classically trained pianist. You have an opportunity with a symphony to perform with them, which is regular employment, and you decide to leave that and go serve your country in the Marine Corps. Is that correct?
Yes.
Describe to the jury why you decided to leave your job with the symphony to serve your country in the Marine Corps.
Since about my sophomore year of college, it has been something I've been thinking about, military service. And obviously there's a window of time that you're able to do that in as you get older. You hit age limits and so forth. And it had just always been something I was interested in, the service of others, service to others aspect of it. I felt like, in a sense, I owed a debt to my country and to do some military service. And I also wanted the opportunity to experience a difficult training environment. And I figured the Marines they had a reputation of being the hardest, so that's the branch I decided to go for.
What, if any, attributes of your childhood or the home environment as you grew up, what, if any, of those attributes played into your desire to join the Marine Corps?
I think the way my parents had always instilled in us a good work ethic and an important sense of just a moral duty to others, it seemed like a very good opportunity for me to further develop some of these things in myself.
You testified that initially you enlisted in the Marine Corps. Ultimately, did your journey continue as an enlisted person in the Marine Corps?
No.
Why not? Tell this jury.
I was speaking with my recruiter and they ask you a lot of questions, just trying to figure out who you are and what aptitude you might have for different aspects of the service you're going for. And he found out that I had a college degree, which meant, unbeknownst to me, that I was eligible for officer candidate school. So as soon as they found that out, they tried to funnel me into, it's a different recruiting program, but they got me in touch with the officer selection officer and encouraged me to go the officer route.
During the selection process for officer candidate school, were you living in Tennessee at the time?
Yes, I was.
And briefly, if you would, describe for the jury during that period in Tennessee what the process was that was used for officer candidate school or OCS for selection.
It's a little different than recruiting. You have to go through a pretty rigorous selection process to even be invited to OCS. So you spend a lot of time with your OSO or your officer selection officer. And it's their job to essentially train you up and get you ready so that you can pass the review board to get an invitation. So when I was living in Tennessee, I was doing a lot of training with him preparing for this.
In Tennessee at the time, was there a board that also was tasked with reviewing applications for OCS?
Yes, there was.
And the cycle where you participated or your application was evaluated, do you know how many applicants the board authorized to go forward with OCS during that cycle?
One.
Was that your application?
Yes, it was.
Let's talk about OCS. At the time you began your journey in the Marine Corps, did Marine Corps personnel try to push you to a different area than you wanted to go to?
Yes, they did.
Describe to this jury what they asked you to do or what they wanted you to do.
As a recruiter, there are different boxes that I think you get bonuses in a certain sense. If you can check, and one of those is the Marine Corps band. So when they found out I had a background as a pianist, they really tried to get me to join the Marine Corps band.
And when they asked you to join the Marine Corps band, what did you say?
I declined. That wasn't the reason.
Let's talk about OCS. During officer candidate school and your time there, were there metrics that were used by OCS personnel to evaluate physical fitness?
Yes.
Describe to the jury what those metrics were.
There's something called the PFT, the physical fitness test, and it consists of 3 areas: it's pull-ups to failure, maximum crunches under 2 minutes, and a 3-mile timed run.
What's a perfect score on that?
You can get a maximum of 100 in each of the 3 areas, so a perfect score would be 300.
What was your score?
294.
Ultimately, were you able to complete officer candidate school?
No, I was not.
Why were you not able to complete officer candidate school?
I was dropped after the 3rd week of officer candidate school due to level 3 stress fractures in both of my tibias.
So you had broken legs.
More or less.
At the time you were forced to leave officer candidate school, what percentage of the class were you in?
I was in the top 3%.
Do you remember how many members were in your OCS class at this time?
It was more than 400.
When you left OCS, how did you leave it with the Marine Corps?
The CO of Quantico, which is where Marine Corps OCS is at, asked me to return. He essentially told me to go home, heal, retrain, and come back.
We'll talk about this more, but ultimately, did you return?
No, I did not.
At this time, do you consider yourself a United States Marine?
No, I do not.
Why?
That's a title you have to earn, and since I haven't completed my training, I did not earn it.
After you suffered the fractures in your legs, where did you go to rehabilitate and to heal?
I went back to Traveler's Rest where my family is, and I stayed with them while I was healing.
And just to put a time on this, is this approximately 2019? Is that right?
This is late January of 2019.
So now you're living with your family in Travelers Rest here in Greenville County. While you were living with your family and rehabilitating your legs, were you presented with an opportunity to play music?
Yes, I was.
Describe to the jury what that opportunity was.
Through a series of mutual acquaintances, a woman by the name of Jeanette Wynn sent me an email and asked me if I would be willing to play an inaugural concert for their church. They had just received a gift of a very fine piano, and they wanted to have this concert sort of as a thank you to the donor and to show the congregation what it sounded like.
And so you were asked to perform using the gift of the piano that the church had received. Is that correct?
Yes.
What was your response to that invitation?
At first, I was inclined to say no because I was about 6 months out of practice. But the more I thought about it, it seemed like it would be a good thing to do while my legs were healing, so I accepted.
Describe to the jury, when did you play the inaugural concert on the piano on that field?
I believe it was in June of 2019.
Were you to be paid for the performance?
Yes, I was.
Describe to the jury what the arrangement for the payment would be.
It was a flat fee honorarium for this one concert.
And was the concert well received?
Yes, it was.
I want to talk about, just briefly, you mentioned Jeanette Wynn in your introduction to the Wynn family. You first met Jeanette Wynn and other members of the Wynn family in what year? Was it 2019?
In 2019, yes.
And over time, did you develop a friendship with the Wynn family?
Yes, I did.
While you developed this friendship, did you share with the Wynn family a long aspiration you had held in the music context?
Yes, I did.
Tell this jury what that aspiration was.
Growing up, Beethoven had always been my favorite composer and something of a personal hero. And in 2020, that was going to be the 250th birthday for him. So I had this dream that I really kind of put on the back burner when I was intending to go through OCS, well, this dream of playing all 32 of his piano sonatas in a series of concerts. And in passing, I shared this with the Winds.
And when you shared that aspiration you had with the Winds, what was the reaction of the Winds and their church members?
They were very enthusiastic about the idea.
And so their support of your dream, what effect did that have on your decision to go back to the United States Marine Corps?
Playing all of these sonatas is not something you can really just decide to do. You need a venue to present them at, so you need external support. And when I realized how enthusiastic the Winds and their church congregation were about this, I realized that there was actually a real way to do this. So it presented me with a very difficult decision, whether to go back to OCS or whether to do this passion project of mine that I didn't think I was going to ever be able to do. And I eventually chose to do the Beethoven sonatas.
Let's talk about this project. You said 32 Beethoven sonatas.
Yes.
How many pages of music comprises the 32 sonatas?
A lot.
It's over 600 pages.
Those from beginning to end.
Depends how fast you go, but roughly 11 to 12 hours.
To your knowledge, how many people have been able to accomplish this endeavor?
I don't know the exact number. It's not many. It's something, probably only a dozen or two pianists have ever recorded. As to how many pianists have actually done it, I don't know if there's a record of that.
So let's talk about what you did to prepare. We're in 2019. When was the first concert on this project? When was that? When were you to perform that concert? When was that scheduled?
In January of 2020.
Where was that going to be? Where was that performance going to take place?
At the Winds Church.
To prepare for this inaugural concert, where were you living?
At first, I was living with my family, and at a certain point, the Winds extended an invitation to me to live with them because they had a piano that I could practice on, and I think they wanted to hear me practice.
So let's talk about January of 2020. Did you have your inaugural concert for this project in January 2020?
Yes,
And where did you perform this concert?
at the Winds Church.
Were you to be compensated for this concert series?
The concerts were donation-based, and the church and I had agreed to split the proceeds 50-50.
Did you perform that concert in January of 2020?
Yes, I did.
How was it received?
Very well.
What percentage of the project, meaning how many sonatas, did you perform in the first concert?
I played 3 sonatas in the first concert
When was the next concert?
in February of 2020.
How many sonatas did you perform in the second concert?
I think 2
When was the third concert?
in March of 2020.
How many sonatas did you perform in the March concert?
I believe 3.
Was there were you able to perform a fourth concert in April of 2020?
No, I wasn't.
Why not?
COVID had happened, which was making public gatherings impossible at the time.
So up until April of 2020, if you had to guess, what percentage of the project were you able to complete in those 3 performances?
Maybe a fifth to a quarter.
All right. During this time, were you working anywhere else to make a little extra money?
Yes, prior I had been working at Gianna downtown serving, and at some point I started working there again after COVID had happened. And I also took on some work with my dad, painting houses and laying brick.
So when the pandemic hit, did that put a complete end to your music performances?
For the time being, yes.
At some point, did you decide to perform outside during the pandemic?
Yes, I did.
What instrument did you use to conduct performances outside?
I saved up some money and bought what was the best electronic keyboard on the market at the time. And I needed something portable, and I also wanted something that would do justice to the pieces I was trying to play. So it was a Roland V piano.
Where did you, or how did you get the money to pay for the piano?
Through working with my dad.
So after you got the piano, did you begin to play music on the streets of downtown Greenville?
Yes, I applied for a performer's permit for public spaces, and then I started Several times a week, taking my keyboard downtown and playing these sonatas at various spots in downtown Greenville.
When did you start performing in downtown Greenville?
It would have been sometime in the summer of 2020.
Where were some of your most frequent locations where you perform music in downtown Greenville?
Probably the most frequent was right in front of Spill the Beans at the entrance to Falls Park, where the fountain is.
I want to talk about an evening in August of 2020 while you were performing outside Spill the Beans. While you were performing, did anyone make contact with you and introduce himself to you?
Yes,
Who was that?
that was John Mello.
Was John Mello by himself, or was anyone with him?
He was with his daughter, Aida Mello.
How old, best you can recall, how old was Aida at the time?
She was 8.
Tell this jury about the interaction you had with John Mello when he first introduced himself when you were in front of Spill the Beans.
I didn't know who he was, but he came up and said he was a musician and asked if I'd be willing to take a request. He said his daughter's favorite piece was Claire de Lune, and I know that piece really well. It's a favorite piece of mine, so I played it for her.
What, if anything, did you observe about Aida while you were playing Claire de Lune?
Like I said, she was 8, so she was pretty young. I had taught a lot of kids before, so I had experience with kids that age and their attention spans, which tend to be very short. So I was really impressed. I could see her out of the corner of my eye, and she was just enraptured from start to finish. She wasn't running around. She wasn't on a device. She was just completely caught up in the music, and that made a big impression on me.
After you played John Mello's request, before he left, what, if anything, did he give you?
He gave me a business card.
Did you use it to make contact with him after that first meeting?
Yes, I sent him an email.
Why did you follow up and begin to communicate with John Mello after that first meeting?
I got the impression from a few things he said and from the card that he was in the rock and roll world, which that's something I had never had contact with as a classical musician. And he seemed like a great conversationalist. He was charismatic and outgoing, and I thought it'd be interesting to get coffee with him at some point.
And did you meet with John again after that night in August of 2020?
Yes, I did.
I want to talk about the period between the time you met John and Aida Mello in August of 2020 until the beginning of October of 2020. During that period of time, how many times did you physically meet with John Mello?
Maybe 6 or 7 times.
When you met with him, was he by himself or was with Aida with him?
With one exception, Aida was always with him.
Tell the jury what the activities you and John and Aida would do together in that period.
We'd get coffee a few times. I saw them and Aida spontaneously because I was performing and they walked up like the first time. We got pizza once, we went to an art gallery, things like that.
Tell the jury what your impressions were of Aida as you got to know her in the late summer, early fall of 2020.
They were extremely positive. She's a really special kid. She was definitely mature beyond her years, like I talked about. She could hold a conversation with adults. She looked you in the eye. She seemed really cultured, like she'd had a lot of exposure to different places. She'd traveled like almost as much as I had. She was always telling me about trips she and her dad had taken, and it was just very evident to me that she was a very healthy, loved child. She clearly loved her dad, and it was obvious that he had done a great job raising her. And I was convinced that she was a happy, healthy kid, and he was a great father.
Let's fast forward to the beginning of October of 2020. When is your birthday?
October 2nd.
On your birthday, October the 2nd, 2020, how did you celebrate your birthday?
At this point, Aida had visitation with her mother, Christina Parcel. So this was the one time I saw John where she wasn't with him. And John wanted to show me some of his favorite taco stands out on White Horse Road. So we celebrated my birthday together and went to a couple bars, had dinner, ended up getting tacos at the end of the night.
At the beginning of the night, what was John's mood?
Very festive.
By the end of the night, had his mood changed?
Yes, it had.
Describe what his mood was at the end of the night.
Towards the end, at one of these taco stands, he became very pensive and even distraught. And he started to tell me about really grave concerns he had about his daughter, specifically when his daughter was with her mother, Christina Parcel. And he essentially said that whenever Aida's mother had visitation, he just never could rest easy until he got Aida back. And that he trust her, and he thought that she wasn't responsible and that she might even hurt her at some point. And I mean, frankly, it kind of, I mean, the mood of the evening took a big dip because of this. It was clear that he just was terrified about the danger his daughter was in, and this made a big impression on me.
So when you were with John on your birthday on October 2nd, 2020, where were Aida and Christina Parcel?
I believe they were on a road trip to see family, maybe in Alabama or somewhere farther down south.
When was she due back to Greenville?
I believe the next day or in the next couple of days.
When she returned, where were Aida and John going to go?
They were going to go to Italy.
Did John tell you that?
Yes.
When John told you that he and Aida were going to go to Italy, what did you think about that? What was your reaction to that?
I thought it was great. I knew at this point that John's parents were Italian, and Aida, I thought, stood to gain a great cultural experience from it. And I just thought if I had had the opportunity to travel and live in Italy when I was 8, I would have jumped at that. So I was really excited for both of them.
Did they go to Italy?
Yes.
So in October, John and Aida Mello go to Italy. Tell this jury what you're doing in October, November of 2020, musically and otherwise.
At this point, musically, I was still performing on the streets of Greenville, and I was also talking with someone who curated a museum of historic instruments downtown, the Sickle Music Museum. This man was Tom Strange, and we were discussing the possibility of revamping the Beethoven project I had been planning to do that got cut short by COVID by essentially doing the concert series again throughout 2021, but this time recording them so that we wouldn't have to deal with the issue of gatherings with COVID going on.
And did you and Tom Strange solidify a plan for resurrecting the Beethoven project?
Yes, we did.
Just generally speaking, describe for the jury sort of the intensity of the schedule, the intensity of the lead up to that project.
Yeah, so as a classical musician, at least, just because you've played a piece doesn't mean that like you know it forever and you're never going to forget it and it's never going to cost you any more work. It would be like you may have run a marathon once before in your life, but if you haven't trained for a year, it's not going to be easy for you if you go and try to do it again. So I was going to have to relearn all of this repertoire because I'd only been playing certain of the sonatas downtown. And with the recording schedule, I was going to be meeting with him. There was going to be other people and other equipment involved. So essentially, I was going to have to commit to a schedule where we'd meet more or less once a week to record one sonata a week throughout 2021 and stick to that schedule. So it was going to be strenuous and a lot of work, and I knew this going into it.
And when was the first recording set to occur on the project with Tom Street?
I think around January 2021.
And beginning in January, how many performances on the project? What was the time frame on the remaining performances?
Again, it was roughly one a week. These sonatas are not all the same length. Some are short as like 12 minutes. Others, one lasts about 45 minutes. So depending on the piece, we were allocating enough time for me to get ready.
All right, so let's talk about from, again, October to April of 2020. John and Aida leave in October. Between October and April, describe to the jury what the communications were you were having with John Mello, the frequency of the communications. Just tell them about it.
Like I said, I was excited for them. I was excited for Aida to be able to have this experience. Based on what John had told me about Aida's mother, I thought it was good that there was distance in between them. And our communications had died off a bit after they left. John is interesting. He's also a lot. He's a very dramatic person. And it was a bit of a relief to just not be running into him downtown all the time because I had a lot of practice I was doing and sometimes I didn't have time to hang out as much as he might have wanted to. So our communications petered out.
Were you relieved in some ways that your communications with him had slowed down or stopped?
To a degree, yeah.
All right. In April of 2021, did your communications with John and the frequency of them increase dramatically?
Yes.
Why did your communications with John increase dramatically in April of 2021?
Like I said, our communications had petered out, but they hadn't completely ceased. So he had let me know that Christina Parcel, Aida's mother, had been filing, I think, some stuff with the family court in Greenville in order to try to get her daughter back. He was very worried that she might succeed in doing this for reasons I've already spoken about. And in April, he sent me a message, and it was clear from the text that he was very upset, just saying that, Zach, they took Aida. What am I going to do? Something about along those lines.
After he told you in April of 2021 that they had taken Aida, did he begin to tell you in greater detail what his concerns were and more information about his concerns?
Yes.
What happened next?
At this point, I found myself in kind of a conundrum because, like I said, I appreciated having some distance from John. But by the same token, I was becoming increasingly more concerned about his daughter, Aida. So while I might have wanted to not continue communicating with John for the sake of his daughter, I felt that I had a certain sense of responsibility to help him with what he was dealing with this custody battle for his daughter's sake. We began communicating probably every day, at least by text, often by phone calls. I was giving a lot of time towards hearing what he had to say, towards trying to help him in any way I could. Some of the things I did to help him were, first, he needed counsel. He needed a lawyer in family court. So I was calling a bunch of lawyers in Greenville, trying to find someone who could help him, and by helping him, help Aida. I ended up cleaning his house in Greenville. He had left it with a tenant who absolutely trashed it. It was like nothing I'd ever seen. Like the air was hardly breathable. So I was buying a dehumidifier, getting cleaning supplies, hiring Mikey Manigo, who testified last week, to help me clean out his house so that he would have a place to show family court, that he had a home that would be a safe place for a little girl and him to be living in. I told him when he came back, I'd pick him up from the airport. But notably, while we were having these conversations, he began to tell me in much more detail what his concerns were about Christina Parcel. And, well, in order for you to understand what my reaction was to what he was telling me, you need to know what my experience was with my oldest adopted sibling, Grace. So when we adopted these kids, we really didn't know much about them.
Objection, Your Honor, may we approach? Sure.
Here we go. Shut him up. And now they're going to turn the cameras. I think the judge made the wrong call on this one. I still think he's guilty. I mean, he killed someone. He admits that he killed someone. But that's his defense. And he needs to be allowed to present it.
Will you please take the jury back to their...
Oh, for crying out loud. He just said take the jury back. So we're not going to get to see anything. Great. Trying to find something else to watch so I don't just stare at a seal. And everybody is streaming this. They're all looking at seals right now, I guess. Man, I thought at least I could find some body cam footage or something. You'd think he would have sequestered the jury. At least then we could watch this part. It's crazy. Hey Ardo. Well, at least I'm awake now. I was falling asleep. His voice is so calming. If you never forget the seasoning, how did you do it again? Kind of. I kind of know a little bit. That's what I was watching right before I went live. I was watching Peter Tragos talking about it. Um, Brennan wants sanctions against the defense team because the ARCA witnesses Oh, so now we get to look at the judge but not hear him talk. Oh, wait, I'm not caught up to live.
Thank you.
Are we back? No, we're not back. And I'm not caught up to live anyways. I'll tell you real quick. Um, Bev did come back, but then she left again with a grave concern, and she ended the hearing early. So even if we had stayed, it would have ended right there anyway. Um, but Brennan is mad about the ARCA witnesses. Those were the ones that were part of the federal investigation. And apparently, I mean, towards the very end, we heard Brennan talking about an email that went back and forth between ARCA and the defense. And Peter Tragos actually put up clips from the original trial, questions that Alan Jackson asked on the stand that Brennan is now claiming like they were paid by the defense and stuff like that Alan Jackson asked the witness during the first trial, and he said, "No, I was not paid by the defense. I wasn't hired by the defense." So Brennan is throwing out some accusations that aren't true about the defense and wanting Alan Jackson specifically off the case. So that's why it ended early yesterday. And Brennan misspoke about something, and so the whole thing is messed up. Like the whole thing has been messed up the whole entire time. So I'm gonna go back and finish watching that video later. But if you don't watch Lawyer, I watch because since I'm not a lawyer and I don't understand the nuance of some of the things that happen, like I didn't understand the nuance of what was going on. But Brennan is mad and really wants Alan Jackson gone or sanctioned in some way because he was talking about trial by ambush, and I was just like, oh well, the pot calling the kettle black because they won't turn over that stupid Sallyport video. But he's I heard that, but I didn't actually get that he's so mad that he would go so far as to want Alan Jackson taken off the case. So, because Peter like lists all the different ways that it can be sanctioned if it's found that the defense acted incorrectly. So, like he's accusing them of misconduct and stuff, which I don't see any misconduct. I just see uh, a very difficult case that was not handled correctly in the first place. Okay, I'm gonna try to see if they're really back because it looked like they were back and then they showed the seal again. But I'm not caught up to live either, so okay.
Thank you. I don't say this lightly, but my oldest sister, Grace, was the most evil human being I've ever met in my life.
Oh my God.
She was 10 when she came into our family. The Russian government didn't tell us much about the kids, so we weren't aware of any, if any, behavioral issues there may have been. And there were many, but specifically with her, I would describe her without reservation as an affectionless psychopath. It wasn't that she was immoral, it was more that she was amoral. She didn't have a sense of right and wrong.
I knew it. Every time a comment gets stuck, it's about to crash. You're right, just because it probably was Morrissey. He's pulling all the strings in this one behind the scenes.
A response in you, a sympathetic response. And if, for instance, you, you were accusing her of doing something like stealing or hurting one of her siblings, weep and just beg you to believe her and say, no, no, I didn't do it. And then if you would present her with irrefutable proof that we knew you had indeed done this, it was like a mask would just fall off her face. And I mean, she'd just look at you with shark eyes. And no matter how many times we would go through this cycle where she would deceive us and betray trust and hurt people in our family, she would always reel us back in, because there's something in normal, good people that wants to believe that someone like this can change. You want to believe that, you know, there's redemption for someone like this and that they might change their ways and become a better person. And she knew that. And she would use that in order to ingratiate herself again and regain our trust, only to betray that big trust again harder than she had the first time. And this happened dozens of times, and it created an incredible amount of strife in our home. She could manipulate my parents and drive a wedge between them. She was just an incredibly intelligent person and incredibly evil. And having met someone like that, it made me able to understand And even though I didn't want to accept the fact that people like this exist, whether you want to believe it or not, and if you trust them, you are only ever going to get hurt by them again. You have to forgive them at some point. And that was a very difficult thing for me to do. It took me years, but eventually I had to accept an apology from this girl that I never got and was never going to get. And I had to do it for myself. But I would never trust her again. That would be insane, for my own safety or for the safety of others. So this is an experience which I think is somewhat unique. I think most people have not met someone like this. And I mean, we might watch true crime documentaries or things like this, and we know that technically these people are real, but they exist on Netflix or in someone else's lives, and we never once.
Yeah, you're going to be in one day, dude. But he's right. When you forgive somebody, you're not forgiving them, you're forgiving them for yourself. But I don't see what that has to do with the fact that he killed someone because, like you said, you have to forgive them. And if I'm sorry, I just don't see what any of this has to do with why he killed her. Exactly, Carla. I don't. How is this have anything to do with why he did this? This is bizarre.
Believe that it could be someone we know, or that it could be someone living next door, or that it could be someone that our children play with, or someone we might allow to look after our kids. So knowing this is essential to understanding my reaction to what John began to tell me about Christina Parcel in April and May of 2021 after Aida had been taken back to Greenville. He started describing Christina Parcel's character and her personality. And as he was going through various points, he kept saying, Zach, I know you're not going to believe me. Like, I know this sounds.
Yeah, it's all he can say, but he didn't kill his sister. Well, of course, there was no child to protect. But still, it's not a valid excuse.
Overblown and dramatic, and you probably think I'm exaggerating. And under other circumstances, I would have, because John does, I mean, he's a big storyteller. And, when people are talking about their exes, like everyone thinks their ex is the Antichrist. So, of course, I was sort of predisposed to be biased against what he was telling me, except for the fact that point by point, everything he described about Christina Parcel was exactly the same as my sister Grace. He told me that Christina Parcel was a master manipulator. He said she can lie at the drop of the hat and you'll never know it. He said she was incredibly charming. He said she was incredibly intelligent and talented. He used to say she was smarter than he was, but that her biggest fault was that she was lazy. And she had this arrogance combined with her laziness that was essentially born out of the fact that she knew she never really had to work too hard at anything in life. And she could even sacrifice trust with people and tell them lies that could easily be found out, because ultimately she was completely confident in her ability to reel someone back in, no matter how bad she had burned them before. And he could have been describing Grace to me because I knew this behavior. I had lived through this behavior. So at this point,
I'm sorry, when he was describing these features to you of Christina, had you ever told him about Grace? Did he know anything about Grace?
no, I don't make a habit of talking about Grace to people. One, it's incredibly difficult to speak about, and two, most people, having not met someone like that, it just doesn't really land most of the time. They don't understand what you're talking about. So no, John had no idea that I'd had this experience with Grace. which made me realize that there was no way he could have possibly invented this, because no one would get it right point by point by point unless they had met one of these people. And that was the first thing that really raised a huge red flag with me and made me think that despite the fact that he can exaggerate and overblow the truth, and he's often not very believable when you listen to him, I was convinced at that point that he must be describing something true, because no one would know how to describe it so specifically and accurately if they were just making it up. And I was right to believe him. So in addition to this description of her character, and one last thing about Grace and Christina by correlation, one thing Grace was she had an addiction to doing was not merely stealing from you or sucker punching one of her siblings just to assert dominance or doing other terrible things to her siblings. She would recruit her other younger siblings to do these things for her. She would get off on making little duplicates of herself and training and enlisting her siblings to act as proxies for her, so that she wouldn't actually get in trouble, because she knew that we all had our eyes on her because of her behavior, and we knew we couldn't trust her. So if she even had 2 minutes with one of her younger siblings where no one was within earshot, she would tell them, "Hey, Mom's going to go check the mail. I just saw the mail truck go. When she's doing that, I want you to go run into her bedroom and go into her jewelry, or go and get this for me and we'll split it. Go and get that food that Mom said we can't have till the weekend," or something. So she was an incredibly corrupting influence on anyone around her that she could exert her influence on. Again, I called her a vampire who sucks the goodness out of others. This is an incredibly appropriate metaphor, because that's what vampires do. They're intelligent, they're dead inside, and they eventually kill the people around them unless they find someone who might be useful to them, and then they create a duplicate of themselves that they can control. And this is exactly what Grace would do. So when John was telling me all this, I realized that there was an incredible danger that what Christina Parcel was a future preview of what John Mello could potentially become if she was left in this woman's custody and was raised by her.
There we go.
And the facts have borne out that I was right.
There we go. He brought it home.
But
Sustained.
Um,
We'll instruct the jury to disregard the last comment.
Zach, at some point, was Grace actually removed from your family?
yes,
Describe for this jury why, or the circumstance or the event that prompted her removal from your family.
it had been 4 years of what I've been describing. She had been sent to different girls' homes around the country, many of which had records of never expelling a single student, and she was the first for many of them that they expelled and sent back to us. And it finally just got so bad that we realized she was going to be a physical danger to our family. I discovered a diary that she had made where she described in detail my parents having their eyes gouged out and dying, and how once my parents were out of the way and dead, she would be able to assume her role as rightful queen of the country. So she just had these psychopathic delusions of violence and grandeur. And we called DSS and asked them to remove her from the home.
We're going to come back to that in a second, or in a little while. You testified about things that John told you about Christina. Did he also provide you with other information about Christina that informed your opinion of her or what you came to know about her?
Yes.
What were some of the documents or other pieces of information that John provided you?
No objection to hearsay.
No, we're not offering it for its truth. We're offering it to show what he knew. In State versus Vic, I've decided, Your Honor, we are not offering it for its truth.
Government.
Go ahead.
He offered me, among other things, three very pertinent collections of information. One was the photographs that have been discussed that I sent in mailings to various people, along with advertisements from an escort website, which were connected with these photographs. These photographs were of Christina Parcel in various stages of undress. And John told me that they were prostitution advertisements from her previous career as a prostitute. And looking at these photographs, there was no doubt in my mind that that's what these were. And I don't say this in any way to try to shame. It's simply that, I mean, who said it? Like pornography, you know it when you see it. Well, I think the same can be said in terms of these photographs. They were not cute, sexy, intimate photographs that someone might send to someone they're dating or something. They were lewd and tasteless, and there was a very clear element of advertising, a commercial element. So when I looked at these, there was a vacant, arrogant, almost derisive look in her eyes that reminded me so much of my sister. It was a look that said, I can get you to do whatever I want because you want what I have to offer you. And coupled with this was a deposition from 2016 that Christina Parcel had given.
1 second. Let me show you, Zach, what's been marked as Defense Exhibit 46. Take a look at this.
Yes, this is the deposition.
All right. This time, the defense removed Defense Exhibit 46 in evidence.
State objects.
Not hearsay.
That's the depo that said she was in a porno. Ardo, I thought I was your wife. Oh, so now we get a light in the ceiling instead of the seal. Okay. Oh, we got the fire alarm again. I'm thinking the state does not want anything bad to come out about the victim. But if there are people on the jury that have a brain, it's not going to matter because murder is wrong, whether somebody deserves it or not. Yeah, I noticed that too. Come on, StreamYard. Yeah, I noticed that too. And another thing I don't know if he's out on bond or if he's still in jail every night after this is over. I just know this is the most frustrating trial I've ever covered. And I understand wanting to protect a small child. But that's not the way you do it. It doesn't matter how horrible a person is. It doesn't justify unaliving them. It doesn't. Bye, Carla. Like even with the Menendez brothers, I want them out of jail. And everyone's like, but they killed their parents. They premeditated it and it was brutal and they weren't being abused at the time. If they were ever even being abused. Yeah, I know that. But they didn't need to be life in prison. They should be done. It should be over. Because look at Gypsy Road Blanch Jim well, I can't say her name. Gypsy Rose Blanchard. What she did, she pre-planned it and manipulated a mentally ill person to actually do it for her. And she's out now and still manipulating people to do her bidding. She manipulated some poor guy to marry her so she would have a place to stay because you don't get parole if you don't have a place to go. So she got married in jail, in prison, to this poor schmuck who fell in love with her. And now she's out and divorces the guy and is with somebody else. And I think she's pregnant now. And I don't know if she's pregnant with the husband or the other guy. And the Menendez brothers have been model citizens in prison and have helped other people get GEDs and I don't know what all, and have been helping and bettering their lives and other people's lives. And yeah, they need out. But no, you don't get a pass if you kill someone, even if you had a good reason, unless it's self defense. Now, with the Colin Griffith thing, the reason why, if I've been on the jury, not guilty doesn't mean innocent. I know. He keeps doing that. We'll see the top of his head and we're like, oh, it's time. They're back. And then he walks back off again. But the thing with Colin Griffith is that we don't know what happened. Nobody knows what happened. And the way his mom was, there's no way to know if she could have got the knife out and was threatening him. He could have done it. She could have got the knife, got the knife out and was threatening him. And it could have been an accident. He could have taken it away from her and did it. Or he could have grabbed it self defense because she was. We don't know what happened. That's the thing with that one. And people are saying, well, yeah, but he already killed his dad. Well, yeah, but we don't know what happened in that one either. I with good conscience, especially since that kid kept asking for help. And DCF and the police failed that kid. I in good conscience could not have found that kid guilty. But that's just my opinion. But no, you don't kill somebody and get a pass, even if you had a good reason to do it. You get the cops involved. If he had taken those pictures to the Guardian ad litem the right way, maybe something would have been done. But that's not what he did. He underhandedly got Zach to help him and mailed the pictures all over creation. And then it sounds like Zach took it upon himself to end the situation the way he did. So now I understand why John Mello is only being charged with conspiracy to harass. But it sounds like if John Mello had just gone to the Guardian ad litem and told her all this stuff and given her the proof, then maybe it wouldn't have ended this way. Maybe he would have just gotten sole custody of Aida and she'd still be alive. This is why you don't take the law into your own hands. I hope Bradley Post goes away for a long, long time. There is a special place in hell for people that do bad things to animals and children. People that can't protect themselves and the mentally handicapped. There there is this clip that we keep watching on Biggins channel. It's not the same clip every time. We've seen two of them now. And I don't know where it takes place, but it's like I think it's not really explained in the video. I think it's like a home for mentally challenged people because both of these guys are mentally challenged. It looks like an apartment complex or like a hostel, like a hotel, like you live in, that you rent by the month or whatever. I think it's a mental health facility, like a assisted living type of a thing. And these guys fight all the time over blowing snow onto the other one's trailer, like they have trailers outside. Um, and they aggravate each other by blowing snow onto each other's belongings outside of the facility. And then one of them always ends up going to jail over it. And Biggins like, you guys need to act like adults. If you can't be adults, you shouldn't be out on your own. And I keep saying, because I don't think that a lot of the people in the chat realize they know that the one guy, because he's obviously mentally handicapped, but I don't think that they realize that they're both mentally handicapped, and it's most probably because a woman always comes out and talks to the cops and talks about the guys like she knows them really, really well, and I think she's like someone that works at the facility. And I was a nurse, so I worked at a nursing home, and when I know when someone that's a healthcare worker how they speak when they speak about a person. So that's why I think that's what it is, because that's just the way she speaks about them. It sounds like it to me. And I keep saying, guys, I think this is a home for mentally challenged people. And everybody's like, they need to get it together and be adults. It's just snow. It's gonna melt. It's not gonna hurt. I'm like, guys, you can't. No, you don't understand. I don't think these guys can be that way. They're gonna argue over snow. Okay. I feel so bad for them. And then the one guy's claustrophobic, and they put the padded helmet on them, because when they freak out in the cop car and they start banging their head on the glass and everything, they put that padded helmet on them so they don't hurt themselves. And he's claustrophobic, so it does the opposite. He freaks out more and starts banging more, and like, so yeah, you gotta be nice to mentally challenged people. They don't understand. Just like with kids and animals, they don't understand. What, darling? What? Why'd you get out of bed? I'm working. You can be my co-host. You can, but I don't know how to get you up here because you're chunky. You're chunky. You a chunky monkey. You are. You are. You're a chunky monkey. What? What? Really? You think so? Yeah. He's so cute. I wish I could pick him up. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Ready? Ready? You want to jump in my lap? Come on. 1, 2, 3. Gotta jump higher than that, dude. Jump higher. There we go. There he is. There's my Spike. There's my Spike. Say hi. You're fine. You're fine. I got you. Say hi. Say hi. He's like, say hi to who? There's people watching us. There's people watching us. He's got a fatty tumor on the side. So I'm glad he didn't squeal because the doctor says it's fine. It's just fat and it shouldn't hurt him or anything. But sometimes when we go to pick him up, he'll squeal. And the doctor said they can't remove it because it's like attached to his rib cage where it is. Most fatty tumors are like, they're really flexible is not the word. What's the word? They like float. They like if a tumor, the bad tumors, they don't move around a lot. They're pretty fixed. But fatty tumors, they float under the skin. You can move them around. But that one you can't. So I freaked out and I took him to the vet Yeah, movable. Um, so that one wasn't moving. It was hard as I was like, oh no. So took him to the vet and they tested it and it's just a fatty tumor, but they said they can't remove it because of where it is. It's like wrapped around his rib cage. That's why it's not moving. And I was like, oh, that's weird because I've never heard of a fatty tumor that doesn't move around. I've got one on my arm, which freaked me out after all the cancer and everything. You probably can't even see it because it's so little, but it moves. Like it just, like I can put my finger on it and it'll just like pop to the other side of my finger because it moves. Thank goodness it's teeny, teeny, tiny and you can't even see it, but and it's getting bigger too. So he looks crooked because because it's sticking out from one side, so he looks crooked. But he's so cute. He's my buddy. Okay, this is another thing I hate about this court. What time is it? It's only 12. Say and it's so close to lunchtime. Well, they've been leaving at 1 for lunch. And it's 12. I was gonna try to watch, see if there was a court feed we could watch or body cam footage of something or something. But I guess I need the. I keep saying this. I know I keep saying this. I'm a broken record. I guess I'm gonna have to go to the higher speed because if I have too many windows open, it still slows it down and it crashes occasionally still. But I've got one, two, three, four windows open now and my camera on. I couldn't do that before. But when it crashed a while ago was when we were waiting and I was looking for something else to watch, and that's when it crashed. Because my pattern for this is online. Because I couldn't find mine that I printed off. And I don't have ink in my printer right now, so I can't print another one off, so I'm just looking at it online. I finished his head yesterday. When when I got the last bad skin infection that I got, and it made a giant wound after the chemo. Um, my infectious disease doctor was a huge Star Wars fan, and we were talking about it was right when the Mandalorian came out, when it first came out, and everybody was Grogu crazy, and we were talking about Grogu and how cute he was, and we were talking about the show and how he used the Force to stop that big animal and save Mandalorian and all that, and so I made him one, and then that was when I was in the hospital. So when I got home, I made him one. When I went to the wound care clinic, I gave it to him. So then everybody in the wound care clinic wanted one too. So I don't know how many I made. I was just passing them out left and right. And one of the nurses was like, "You need to sell these. I'll be your business manager. These would sell great." And I haven't sold any. I just make them for friends and give them away. I really am wondering if we're done until lunch, but I don't want to stop in case they come back. I don't see anything that we can watch. I guess I sit here and talk again. I don't. Yesterday, I went back and I cut the end off of both of the live streams where I was just sitting here and talking. And after I did it, I thought, that was stupid. I just cheated myself out of watch hours. So I'm not going to do that today because I get self conscious of me just sitting here talking about nothing. But you know what? If people are going to watch me talk about nothing, why should I be self conscious about it? I have been watching so many videos. Now, I don't have a problem with fat people, y'all. I'm fat too. But I know that you can lose weight. And I have got genetics because my family's overweight, both sides. I have chronic illnesses that cause weight gain. I have medication that causes weight gain. So there's a lot against me. I have chronic illnesses that keep me from being able to exercise. So I know there's a lot against me losing weight. But I'm not one of those people that say I can't lose weight because of these things. I have had weight loss surgery and have had trouble losing weight, even after the weight loss surgery. I'm on medication now to help me lose weight, and I'm still struggling. I lost 50 pounds last year, and now I am stuck. Since before the holidays, I have been stuck at the same weight. So since November, I have not lost a pound. Well, I'll lose a pound and then gain it back. Like I've gotten down to 201. I cannot get under 200 to save my life. I have tried and tried and tried and tried. But I am fascinated with this chick that is suing Lyft. Absolutely fascinated. How can you be that not in touch with your own body. I don't get it. She goes on to the Breakfast Club to talk about this lawsuit, and she sits down in the chair, and she does not fit in the chair that they give her to sit in. And she says, "Y'all got any bigger chairs?" And they have to pull a sofa up for her to sit to talk to them. So now everybody's going, "Well, she just lost her lawsuit. She can't even sit in a regular sized chair." But weight is a protected class in Michigan. So she's likely going to win the lawsuit. And then Lyft, they threw their driver under the bus, which I think was very wrong because that's his car. That's his property. He should be able to say, now, if it was a racist thing, if it was just because of their race or religion or something like that, that would be different. But he can get serious wear and tear on his car. That was a Toyota Corolla, and she weighs close to 500 pounds. That could seriously damage his car. And Lyft is not going to reimburse him for new tires or whatever he's going to need after she rides in his car. So I don't think that was right that they threw him under the bus like they did. I would play some of the videos, but I don't want to get in trouble. What was that? Quit teasing us. All of my weight is right here in my belly, but I'm losing it everywhere. I am feeling, well, when I started, actually, I've lost 102. I showed you guys a picture of me at my highest. I think I did. What did I do with it? Clear. That's me. That was 2011, I think. Yeah, so there's a comparison picture that I did. So that's like maybe. So Nate the lawyer did a video on the Lyft lawsuit, and I was like, because these people that are pro this woman, whatever her name is, Demas is her rapper name, I think. Um, they're saying, well, it's not fair. You shouldn't have to buy an extra seat on an airline, and you shouldn't have to pay extra for a larger car, and this and that, whatever. And in the comments, I wrote, well, I had annual passes to Universal Studios, and I didn't think it was fair that I couldn't ride every ride and I was paying just as much as everybody else was. I said, so you know what I did? I lost 102 pounds and now I can fit on every ride. And now I can't wait to go back because I had lost. I I lost. I didn't lose. I think I lost. I lost part of this weight previously. Part of the 102. And we went to Universal. I couldn't fit on any of the Harry Potter rides, which was my big reason for going. I'd not been maybe in like 20 years, and they put in the new Harry Potter stuff, and we went, and was my big reason I wanted to go was for the Harry Potter stuff. Couldn't ride any of the Harry Potter rides, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? I can't fit on any of these rides. This is the whole reason I came here." So I decided that I was gonna lose the weight, and then I think I lost 40 pounds and went back and I could ride them. And then I had gained some back. So then when we went back the next time, I had trouble in some of them. And then the next time we went back, I couldn't ride any of them again. And I was like, oh crap, I got to get serious about this now. And that's when I decided this is it. I've got to do this for my health, for my clothes, for Universal, and because now Disney has rides that have not weight restrictions, but seating restrictions. I'll say, and I was like, I just have to do this. I have to change my life. This has got to happen. So I did it, and now I'm stuck, and it's driving me crazy. And I'm gonna have to. I think I'm gonna have to go back to being super super strict like I was when I first started, because I got to a place where I could kind of be not so strict and still lose. And I think I'm overdoing that now, where I'm saying, oh, it's just one meal. But I'm doing that too often, saying, oh, it's just one meal. Like I don't want to cook. I'll call Travis and I'll be like, run through a drive through somewhere. And I think I'm just doing that too many times now. And I'm not gaining. I'm still eating healthy other meals. So I'm not gaining, but I'm staying the same, but I'm not losing anymore. So, because and if we went out somewhere like shopping or something like that, and we went to a fast food place, I would say, go someplace where I can get a salad. And I've let up on that too. So I'm back to saying, let's eat somewhere where I can get a salad. So, and like tonight, because I got paid today, because I only get paid once a month. So I got paid today and I ordered groceries. So when he gets off work, he'll go pick up groceries. And it used to be I would have him go get Chinese because that's my favorite. So he would pick up groceries and Chinese and come home, and I would get my Chinese. But now I have him go to Zaxby's and get me one of those, their Chinese salads. It's still Chinese, but it's a salad, and it's not fried chicken with sweet and sour sauce. It's just, it's got a little bit of teriyaki sauce on it and some kind of Asian citrus, and it's got grilled chicken instead of fried chicken, and I still have my Chinese chicken, and it comes with a little tiny egg roll. Yeah, my problem is portion because I'll eat healthy, but I eat too much of the healthy. That's the one thing that the dietitian is always saying when I go to the weight loss clinic. She's like, now remember your portion sizes because that's my biggest. It's like, is fruit okay to snack on? Yes, but have just have some protein with it. I'm like, is cottage cheese okay? Oh, just little portions. Meanwhile, I've got a whole. Keep your portions small. They need to be small. So, well, saw the head top of his head again. Judge, what are you doing? Is it lunch? What's going on? That's the rudest judge. I swear. I don't ever want to come back to this court. What are we doing, dude? Judy, is RA saying anything about what's going on? Somehow, excuse me, RA always knows what's going on somehow. And I'm always sitting here wondering what's going on. I have to retrain Travis too because one time I had a headache and I said, don't get me a Diet Coke, get me a sweet tea. And so now he always brings me sweet tea. Of course, I've not told him any different, so it's half my fault. But I need to tell him, start bringing me Diet Coke again. Um, Veggies are carbs too, though, you know. So you still have to be careful with the veggies. You can just eat more veggies than, because veggies are complex carbs, whereas chips and that kind of stuff is simple carbs. They break down into sugar faster than veggies. When I order groceries, I found, see, I'm all about quick and easy. I like vegetables, but getting vegetables, washing them, cutting them up, and then cooking them in a healthy way is too much effort. I'm lazy and I hate to cook. So I found frozen roasted broccoli and cauliflower. And all you have to do is put them in the air fryer. That's it. And you have roasted broccoli and cauliflower. And I ordered a bag. I can't wait. I also, now I've been getting these for a while, zucchini fries. Because I used to get zucchini. Travis doesn't like zucchini. So I used to get zucchini for myself and cut it, bread it, and fry it like in vegetable oil back before I was on a diet. And I would see it sit and eat a great big plate of fried zucchini all by myself. Um, which is not good for you because it's fried and it's battered. So I got these veggie fries. They're Parmesan and they're battered, but you put them in the air fryer. Um, why do they keep doing that? The only thing is, because Travis doesn't like them, I cooked the whole bag. So I'm eating more than one serving, but I am sharing them with the dogs. Because my dogs are so weird. Oh, I forgot to put Brussels sprouts on the groceries. Oh well. I like Brussels sprouts too. And Bird's Eye makes a bag of, it's, you steam it in the microwave Oh, I hear noise. But it's got butter and pepper on it. It's so good. It's not very many calories. But my dogs like Brussels sprouts, so they will beg for Brussels sprouts and Zoom fries. They love them. So when I eat those, and Travis doesn't like those, so I eat those and I share them with the dogs. So I don't eat the whole bag by myself.
Now, just for the purpose of the record, you used to say that state objection. Is that correct?
I did as far as that.
Yes. After, Zach, after you read the depositions of Christina Parcel, what did you come to conclude your belief?
I believed that based on various things, she freely admitted in deposition that she had a history of using and manipulating men in order to get money and in offering sexual services in return. She admitted to being a pornographic actress and producing a film in South Carolina where she rubbed her feet on a man's penis. She admitted to using sugardaddyforme.com, where she sought out romantic relationships with older men with a clear emphasis on it being a trade, essentially a reciprocal thing, where she was seeking out to be taken care of financially. She said that she had a general disinterest in having children at the time, which is why that she gave up custody of her daughter to John Mello when her daughter was very young. Her lawyer took it.
Objection, Your Honor. I'm going to sustain the objection.
Okay.
You can ask him, like we said, as far as just the effective count, not the specific details.
Understand.
Move on.
Zach, a little while ago, I asked you about documents that John gave you in addition to details he provided you information. We talked about the deposition. Let me show you Defense Exhibit 56. Let me show you Defense Exhibit 56. Is that also a document that John Mello gave you?
Yes,
Did you read it?
I did.
Around this time, the defense removed Defense Exhibit 56 in evidence.
State objects based on the same objection we had in the prior, the prior issue. I think Your Honor's ruling was that he can talk about how it had an effect on him, but not to go into the detail.
Your Honor, this is a separate exhibit. It's different than the deposition. It's just a few pages. I'd be happy to argue on this.
I'm going to allow this to come in.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. This is, so again, I will renew my motion to enter Defense Exhibit 56 in evidence. And it's admitted. Is that correct, Your Honor? Zach, take a look at Defense Exhibit 56. Would you, for the jury, let me look at it.
Oh, I haven't tried that.
Let's see.
That sounds good.
Zach, this is an affidavit of a man named Alex Fields. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I just want to go over this affidavit for you, or with you. based on your understanding of this affidavit and your communication with John Mello, how did John become aware of this information that led to this affidavit?
John posted an ad on Craigslist asking for information about a woman named Christina Parcel, aka Caroline Warren, and he provided photographs to identify her by.
Is page 2 of the affidavit this advertisement on Craigslist?
Yes.
That was ballsy.
Okay. Let's go to page 1 of the affidavit. Would you please read the second paragraph of this affidavit?
I was at Hall's Chop House in downtown Greenville, South Carolina, when a woman approached me. She said hello and proceeded to ask if I was looking for a date. She said something to the effect of inviting me to bed for an amount of money and that we would not be rushed at all. When I refused her proposition, she proceeded to offer me narcotics. I refused and ended the encounter at that point.
Would you please read just the first sentence of the third paragraph?
There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that this woman is the woman that I saw on Craigslist.
And Zach, again, the woman in this advertisement on Craigslist, who's that woman?
Christina Parcel.
Zach, I want to talk about other information John Mello had provided you. You heard testimony from investigator Dan Bell. Do you remember that testimony?
I do.
And do you recall in the state's case in chief, Dan Bevel, both in direct examination and cross-examination, testifying that he had met Christina Parcel in his official capacity before he began his investigation of the letters that were sent?
I remember.
And isn't it true that John Mello shared information with you about interactions he had had with Dan Bell?
Objection. Your Honor, I need a curative instruction on that.
You know, I totally disagree, and I'm happy to argue.
Joel, stop arguing. I know it's hard to do because you're lawyers, but this is getting ridiculous. The only other trial that the jury has been sent out this much is the Daryl Books trial. But at least we got to see what went on when the jury wasn't in the room. I know. That's exactly what the problem is, and why we can't hear. I don't understand. Because Gigi is in the courtroom, although I don't know if she's there today because I think she's live streaming, which means she's not there. But yesterday she was there and she told us everything that happened. I wish I could be as detailed as she is. Like I said, chemo brain. But she's very, very good and very detailed, and she's been there every day. I tried to listen to her recaps over the weekend, and ADHD took over, and I didn't get it all done. But she does very good recaps because in the courtroom taking notes. And I'm here doing 50 things at once. Not literally 50, but also when they do this, my fear, because this judge does this, is that he's just not going to come back and no one's going to know. He's done this even last week when it wasn't this bad. He would just break for lunch and not say anything and not say when he was coming back, and I would just have to guess. Okay, I guess that's lunch. And it's a good thing that there's been a half hour delay. Are they done? If they bring the jury back in just to say it's lunch, I'm just go get a pillow and scream into it. I found this cool crochet pattern for a pillow that it's a little
Got
like
some
throw
legal
pillow,
issues with
has
the
a giant
attorneys. Y'all
dragon
gonna
on it
get
in
your
the middle
steps
of
in
it.
today. Please proceed.
Can't wait to make that pillow. It's
So, Zach, you testified about information that John has provided you related to concerns he had about Christina Parcel, especially in conjunction with Aida Mello. We talked about the time period April. I want to move to May. In May of 2021, were you and John Mello continuing to communicate about the situation?
Yes.
In May of 2021, what, if anything, did John ask you to do for him?
Given the extremely grave nature of John's concerns for his daughter, um, especially while she was in the custody of her mother, Christina Parcel, and potentially being exposed to her mother's boyfriend, Brad Post, who John believed was a pedophile and is a pedophile.
Objection.
Sustained. I instruct you to totally disregard the last comments made about.
And now the jury's going, that's why he's in jail.
Could you just tell this jury what John asked you to do?
Yes. Given his concerns, that if I believed his daughter was in grave danger,
What did you say when he asked you that?
I was shocked and insulted by the request, and I gave him an immediate and unequivocal no.
So he offered you $5,000 if you would kill Christina Parcel, and you said no.
That's correct.
At some point, did he revisit that subject?
Yes.
Did he make you another offer?
Yes, he did.
How long after the first offer did he make the second?
I'm not certain, but I would say maybe 2 or 3 weeks later.
Tell this jury about that.
He was becoming increasingly more worried and distressed about
Or I learned about this situation and a lot more than what I've told you. I was also
Sustained.
Of course.
What was the second offer?
the second offer. He asked me again if I became convinced that his daughter was in danger, would I be willing to kill Christina Parcel for $10,000?
What did you, or how did you respond to that offer?
I told him, John, there's no amount of money that would ever tempt me to do something like this. And I told him I was insulted that he even thought that would be something I would consider. So I told him I would never do something like this for money. I told him the only way I would ever consider taking action like this is if I was absolutely convinced that his daughter was not only in danger, but that the only way to rescue her from that danger would be to take Christina Parcel's life.
Judy, he's not allowed to talk about the baby corn or the cheese pizza or whatever you want to call it. And he hasn't. Not in so many words. He's only said about things that Christina has done herself. And then he said that Brad post was a Pedialyte. And that was objected to, and the judge told the jury to disregard it. So technically, he's not said what he wasn't supposed to talk about. So all they know is that the daughter's in danger somehow, and that the mom is not a good person. That's so they really don't know what she was in danger from, other than mom being not a great mom and not really wanting to have the kid at all, and giving up custody and then only wanting it back later. I wonder if she wanted it back because of Brad post. Like, I wonder if he was like, oh, if we get her back, we can make money off of her. Because if she didn't want her to begin with, why want her back so badly all of a sudden?
Let's talk about what else is going on in your life in May of 2021. Tell this jury what you're doing with the music project with Tom Strange, how that's going.
We've been at the project recording the sonatas in the museum, like I talked about, for about 5 months. This, of course, I was doing in conjunction with all the help I was trying to provide John and Aida. So the music project on its own would have been incredibly stressful, And with everything else, I was just approaching burnout. Honestly, I was having a really hard time meeting my deadlines. And I was worried that the quality of the work I was doing was going to be going down. And I was just at the point where I needed a vacation, honestly.
And we're going to get to that in just a second. Tell the jury about your compensation as it relates to the music project with Tom Strange.
It was just an arrangement of a flat fee for all 32 sonatas. I was going to receive $5,000.
And if you broke that down on an hourly basis, how much were you getting paid per hour for that project?
Probably less than $1, but it was a labor of love.
Wow.
During this time, were you also doing other things to try to make money to support yourself, or was it?
Yes, I was giving some outdoor concerts on the Wynn's lawn, and these were donation-based, so people were supporting me financially in that regard.
He was just playing the piano on the
You
lawn.
talked about
Okay.
needing a vacation at the end of May. Describe a little bit more to the jury the fatigue and why you believed at the end of May that a break would do you some good.
Well, I needed a break. My nature is usually to just try to push through stuff like that. I can push myself too far. So I was not necessarily seeking out a break or a vacation, but I was definitely at the point where I needed one for the sake of my work, for the sake of my health.
Did you get that break?
Yes, I did.
Describe for the jury how that came about.
Like I said, John and I were communicating pretty much every day at this point. Much of it, if not most of it, about Aida. But I was also mentioning to him what I was doing. Certainly times when he needed me to do something and I would have to say, I can't, I'm practicing, I'm recording something like this. So he told me, I think he said, like in the rock and roll business, we say you have a monkey on your back, like the project is starting to own you and you just need to step away from it. You're too close to it and you've been in it for too long. So he suggested that I come and visit him in Italy.
Did you take him up on that suggestion?
Yes, I did.
Initially, what was your reaction to that offer?
Initially, I didn't want to. Like I said, it's my nature to just kind of push through things, but with some more time, I realized that some time off from the piano would probably do me good.
So when did you go to Italy to visit John?
I think in either the very last days of May or first days of June, 2021.
Who paid for your travel?
I did.
When you arrived in Italy, where did you stay?
I stayed at John Mello's apartment.
How long were you there?
Between 3 and 4 weeks.
Do you remember where in Italy you were?
Yes, it was a town called Rovigo. It's not too far from Venice.
When you were visiting in Italy, where was Aida Mello?
She was in Greenville with her mother.
I remember that episode. I love the monkeys.
Even though Aida was not in Italy, while you were in Italy, did you have an opportunity to see Aida?
Yes, I did.
Describe for the jury what that opportunity was.
John had video visits ordered by the guardian ad litem, who you've seen before, Vanessa Cornwell, to have video visits twice a week with Aida. So he, even with the time difference, was always setting timers and alarms and making me set timers and alarms to make sure he wouldn't be late for these visits. Like he lived for these visits every week. So often it might be 11 p.m. or midnight in Italy, but that was when Aida was free, so that's when they'd have their visit. And I would often be within earshot to where I could hear their conversation. Often I would be able to observe the screen of his phone or computer, so I could see Aida's face, her disposition. And on one occasion, I said hi to her.
What did you notice about her, or what did you conclude about her while you were watching Aida during the visitations?
So John had been telling me for weeks, Zach, Christina's killing my little girl. Like, I can see the spark dying in her eyes. And again, when I first heard that, I thought, aren't you being a little dramatic? Like, I hadn't seen her, but it just seemed a bit much. When I saw her in these visits, I didn't feel that way anymore. She was not the same little girl that I had known in Greenville when I first met them. She had put on a great deal of weight, probably about 20 pounds, which is roughly a quarter of her body weight. For an 8-year-old girl, that's a lot in a short period of time, but it was much more than that. It was her demeanor. Her spirit was just, she was morose, she was depressed, like that spunky, precocious, lively little girl that I had met was just not present there. It was a complete change in character. And I mean, John would ask her how she was doing, and she would always try to give a good response. Like, she would try to smile and say, "Oh, I'm fine, Daddy," and try to put on a good face. But it was clear that she was doing that because she didn't want to worry her dad. She didn't want him to realize how poorly she was doing. And it just reminded me so much of myself when I was a little older than she was, with what I've previously described with Grace. It's this, you internalize things. Like, she's a strong person. And she was trying to be stronger than she was probably ready to be at that age. And despite the stoic, strong exterior she was trying to put on, I could just see that she was being tortured. Like, she was drowning. And him saying that the spark was dying in her eyes was absolutely accurate. I could see it, I could hear it in her voice, I could tell it in her demeanor.
So when you came, let me back up. When did you leave Italy to return to Greenville County?
At the end of June 2021.
When you returned to Greenville in June of 2021, based on everything that you knew and had been made aware of, and I want to start in June, what, if anything, in June of 2021 did you do to act on what you knew?
I had described the mailers that I had put together before, and the state has talked about them a lot. All of these mailers contained information that I believe had been put out publicly and by Christina Parcel's free will. So this was all information that had been available publicly, and that, to the best of my knowledge, was true. And I began to send these mailers to Christina Parcel and her boyfriend and people in the neighborhood for a threefold purpose. I wanted parents around that neighborhood to know that their children were not safe around her or around Brad Post. I wanted different people associated with this, such as the guardian ad litem, the police, to have access to this information, so that they would have all the evidence that I was looking at that clearly demonstrated that Christina Parcel was a danger to children and her own daughter. And I also wanted there to be social pressure on Christina Parcel, because something again, about people like Grace and Christina Parcel is the facade that they erect around themselves and the image that they put forward to the world is so important to them. They're narcissists. And it is a facade. It's completely untrue. But I was hoping that it wouldn't be worth it to her for other people to see her for what she was in exchange for her trying to fight to have her daughter.
You sent multiple mailers beginning in June and going into July of 2020. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Did those mailers and the effect those mailers had do anything to alleviate your concerns?
No, they didn't. If anything, Christina Parcel and Brad Post just dug their heels in deeper.
After the mailers were sent, do you know whether or not they had any effect on? I want to talk about after the mailers were sent, did you learn of a video call or about a video call that John, who was in Italy, had with Aida, who was in Greenville?
Yes.
What did you learn about that video call?
Shortly after these mailers would have arrived, John described a call to me where he said Christina was, at the end of the call, she took the phone and turned it towards her face, which she usually did not do. And he said she was more angry than I've ever seen her. And he would often talk about how you would never see her angry, like she was very good at controlling her emotions and not showing if you had made her angry. And she took the phone and didn't say anything, but just slid her finger across her throat as if that she was threatening that she was going to have him killed for what she believed he was doing.
After the mailer, or the last mailer, did John share with you any information he had received via email?
Yes, he described, well, he didn't describe it, he sent it to me, an email he had received from someone he knew in the biker community, motorcycles. And Brad Post was also involved in the biker community, or at least tried to be. And this email was from this acquaintance of John telling John that Brad Post had been going around essentially asking for someone to, quote, put the hurt on John Mello, and that he was offering a lot of money to make this happen.
Okay. See ya. How do you try to be in the biker community? Like he tried to be a biker and they rejected him, or? Okay. So he started to say he described, and then he switched to he showed me the email. Did he do that to get past the hearsay objection that he knew was coming? Yet it still got objected to.
I'm going to sustain the objection. That's to your side.
Zach, we talked about the fact that you testified that you sent the mailers, you've explained why. I want to talk about something else you did for the purpose of acting on a concern. take a look at what's been marked as defense exhibit 47. Is that an affidavit that you completed for the purpose or in connection with the pending family court litigation between John Mello and Christina Parcel?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, this is defense counsel version. This is already in evidence. The state put that in. Zach, let's talk about this affidavit.
Is that the one from September?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes. Zach, why did you draft this affidavit?
I was extremely concerned about the danger that Aida was in, and I wanted to try to provide the family court with information about my opinion and my observations about her that
Would hopefully cause them to return Aida to John so that she would no longer be in danger.
Did this affidavit, well, let me back up. To whom did you send this affidavit?
I had it notarized, and then I think I scanned it and probably emailed it to John or left it with his family court attorney, Samantha Larkins, at the time.
One second. Let's move on. So that affidavit was, I believe, September the 21st of 2021, is that correct?
I don't remember the date other than it being in September.
I'll show it to you.
Yes, the 21st day of September, 2021.
And you testified that after you submitted that affidavit, that did not do anything to alleviate your concerns, is that correct?
That is correct.
Did you take another step to try to act on your concerns for Aida?
Yes.
And did you take that step at the end of September or beginning of October?
Yes, I made a phone call to Child Protective Services, and I told them that I was a neighbor. So I told them that I had seen Aida being verbally and physically abused by her mother. And again, I made that up. That's not true. But I said it because I wanted to give Aida an opportunity to have FaceTime in person with an agent from DSS away from her mother, where she could tell them that her mother was sexually abusing her.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. You are to disregard the last items from this witness.
Zach, let me ask this.
Okay, that he was.
You talk about Child Protective Services. Is that in South Carolina, is that called DSS?
I think they may be part of the same entity. I'm not sure.
And so did they do anything to alleviate your concerns?
No.
Did that surprise you at all?
No.
In fact, you testified earlier about Virginia and Grace, did you and your family have interaction with the DSS in Virginia
Yes, we did.
over Grace?
Yes, when I discovered the journal, I had mentioned before about Grace's plans to murder my family. We called DSS and asked for her to be taken out of the home. And they did this. And after a few weeks of hearing Grace's stories and lies, they took her side. They failed to recognize what they were dealing with her. And they tried to have my parents put in jail and the rest of me and my siblings put in foster care. And we eventually had to sue them. And it was about a 2-year-long court battle. And that left an indelible impression on me, just as to how even experts can be wrong sometimes. And when they are wrong, it's so dangerous because everyone believes them because they're the experts. But sometimes you know what you know, and you know it's true. And even if an expert might think differently, it doesn't mean they're right. And DSS did a lot of damage to my family in those 2 years.
So ultimately, Grace was removed from your family, is that correct?
Yes.
Your other Russian siblings were not, were they?
No.
And in fact, Faith, one of your Russian siblings, has been in the courtroom all week, is that correct?
Yes.
So you testified to this jury about the information you received from John Mello about his concerns. You've testified to the jury about the documents you consulted about those concerns. You testified to the jury what you came to believe. You testified to the jury about the mailers you sent, about the affidavit you submitted, and now about the call to DSS. After you had done all these things to act on your concerns, and nothing had been done, tell this jury in early October of 2021 what's going on in your mind. What are you thinking?
I was still in the middle of this music project, so I had a lot on my plate there just professionally, and of course I was continuing and even increasing my support to help John save his daughter, Aida. And since June, when I had returned, I had been absolutely convinced that Christina Parcel was sexually abusing her daughter.
Let's go. I mean,
Good Lord, dude, calm down. This is not a John Grisham movie. And, you know, just because he was convinced of it doesn't make it true, even though it is. The judge isn't going to allow any evidence of it. So don't have an aneurysm, dude. Jeez. That's his defense. He thought that she was abusing her child. That's his defense. Let him say it. It's his defense. And then let the jury decide if that's enough to warrant. But even that might not be fair. I don't know. But that's his defense, and he should be allowed to have a defense. Although I think what he did was wrong. I still say he needs a defense. He scared you. I thought it was funny because it was like, that's what I said. It's not a John Grisham novel. I mean, a John Grisham movie. That was like out of a movie. He totally overreacted. All he had to say was objection. And they know Bradley Post is in jail. When he testified, he was in his orange jumpsuit and shackled. They know that the man is in jail. And they asked him if I don't remember the exact wording, but they asked him where he resided, and he said the Greenville County Jail or whatever it's called. And they asked him about not about what the charges were, but about charges. And it made it seem like he only had one charge, and then the defense attorney got up there and said, "You actually have 9 charges, don't you?" And he said yes. And I think it's 9 charges because there were 9 different devices. I think it should be a charge for every single piece of evidence that they found. But I'm not the DA. What do I know? So the jury can put 2 and 2 together, I'm sure. Especially since Zach just said he was a Pedialyte. Looking right at the jury, dead in their eyes. Brad Post is a Pedialyte. Man, I had people in here yesterday that hadn't been here before. And I hope the reason they're not back has nothing to do with how foobar the court was yesterday. It happened twice in 2 different court feeds, and it was not my fault. Court was crazy yesterday. And I want to watch finish watching Peter's video, and I want to go back and see if I can find the end of the Karen Reed hearing, because Bev did come back. But it went to like the live view thing, and usually once they put up the live view, it means that the stream is over. And I don't know if I think they actually cut the stream. I don't remember. I was just so upset that everything was going wonky yesterday. Come on, Grogu, stand up. He's not going to stand. Judy, you're going to have to prop him up because he won't stand. I've never been able to get one of these to stand. I don't know why. But he doesn't want to stand. They never want to stand. Oh, he's standing. I stand corrected. Oh, yeah. He talked about the one with his dad in the one that I watched part of. He said something about the podcast with his dad. But it seems to me that Brennan is not being fair because he's not giving them discovery they want, yet he's complaining he's not getting discovery that he wants, and he wants them sanctioned. Yet he keeps telling them that he knows where the footage is, and then they go to get the footage and it's not there. Yet now he's claiming they're doing basically the same thing to him. Well, if they get sanctioned, then you need to be sanctioned. So shut your face. Well, if you balance him just right, he might stand. But after I get his coat made, I don't know. The body and the head's done. When Fawn made hers, I don't have this part of the pattern, but when Fawn made hers, she made hers with a little cup. He's holding a little cup with a frog in it. I don't know, you can keep us entertained. That's kind of cool. Oh, stop it. Well, that's kind of cool. I'm always looking for new pill cases because I don't really like mine. I just bought a new one. I hated the one I had before, but I waited until it was like trash before I bought a new one. Ooh, I like that one too. I can't. Timu has some of the coolest shirts, but I need to lose some more weight before I order more clothes. I like that shirt. I got an iPad case like that, but it didn't come with a mouse. I'm wondering if I should get a. I think I have a little bitty travel mouse somewhere. Oh, well, the Supreme Court denied it. Well, when she left the bench the first time, I didn't see the second part, but when she left the bench the first time, she looked frustrated and she's like, I have to take a recess. And remember, I said she's going to go in her chambers and scream into a pillow. because I could tell she was all worked up about something. I wasn't exactly sure what it was. What is this? You guys, I love Timu. I'm so tired of people bashing Timu. What is this? Oh, I need to get one of these. I'm not paying $30 for a freaking pencil though. I'm gonna order it from Timu. Timu is not bad. I haven't had trouble with Timu. I had lots of trouble with Wish. These translation earbuds are so cool. If I traveled, I would get myself a pair for sure. I buy all kinds of stuff from Timu. And I've had very little problems. I buy jewelry. All of these earrings I've got on, I think, except for that one. All of these I got from Timu. I got, well, you can't see it. I got this one from Timu. You still can't see it because it's too little. It's got a cat head on one side and a cat paw on the other side. And then all of these I got from Timu. I've gotten shirts from there. I've gotten sandals from there. I get a lot of diamond art from there. I've gotten uh, Switch controllers, my video game controllers from there. Being an adult is like the dumbest thing I've ever done. I like that shirt too. And it gets here faster than Wish. It's still in Asia, but it gets here faster than Wish. And now they have um, a warehouse over here in America. So those things get here faster and you don't have to buy a minimum amount. Oh, look at Dobby. All the clothes though is still on plus size on my account because I used to buy plus size. And I need to figure out how to get them to show me regular size clothes. I bet they're not going to come back until after lunch. I bought a pair of shoes like this. Did it click on it? I think it clicked on it. I didn't mean to click on it. I bought it from Timu. Oh, they're right here. The first pair I had, I got from Amazon. And they lasted a really, really long time. They were like $15. And then they wore out, and I was going to buy another pair from Amazon, and I found them on Timu. They're the exact same shoe, and I think I paid $5 on Timu. And they are the exact same shoe that I bought on Amazon. You know what I want to do, guys? I want to buy. Ouch. I want to buy Jackbox. A Jackbox game and play it, but I'm not sure. I've only been on the other end. Like, I've never been the host. So, I don't know. I think Ardo, you may be able to help me with this. I think I have to get it. I have to buy it through Steam through StreamYard. And it's been so long since I've gone to my Steam account. Wait, I have a different. I have a different. Where is it? I don't see it anymore. What did I do with it? Oh, I do still have Steam. Oh, it's got to update it first, though. Oh, okay. All right, then we'll be on lunch too. See, I told you. The judge is rude. He doesn't even tell us when they go to lunch. Okay, so we'll be done until 2:15 then too. And I'm going to try to figure out how to do the Jackbox game thingy so we have something to do during verdict watch. But right now we'll go ahead and take a break until 2:15. So I will see you guys then. Bye.